Okay, so as promised, I'm doing this Monday series on Pombagira because Monday is her day of the week. So we are going to begin with one of the more famous and popular ones, Maria Padilha, who's at the top of the hierarchy. She is considered the wife, quote unquote, of Eshu Lucifer. Eshu Lucifer being the main Eshu. So she's the main Pombagira, he's the main Eshu. Okay, so a little bit of background on Pombagira and who she is. She's the feminine counterpart of Eshu. Now we are talking about Eshu, who is an ancestral spirit, and Pombagira is an ancestral spirit, not Eshu or Elegbara, or as he's known in other religions as Elegwa, who is an Orisha, a divine being, right, that incarnated on earth but is still of divine origin. The Eshus and Pombagiras were humans that have ascended to a higher status in the spiritual world, right? So they are not of divine origin. They are of human origin, where the Orishas are of divine origin. So I just want to put that out first and foremost. But the Orisha Eshu is tied to the Eshus and Pombagiras. Some people consider them to be his children when they were alive. Some people consider them to be his messengers. You know, they work for him. Now, the origins of Pombagira are of Congo origin. And originally, Pombagira does not have a lot to do with what Pombagira in the Americas does. So Pombagira in the Americas has a lot to do with things that are like on the outskirts of society. Prostitution, brothels, cabarets, houses of entertainment and such, and people that are on the margins of society. So she is very popular with the LGBT community in Brazil and around the world. Pombagira originally in Africa. Okay, now for all the Blanquitos are gonna say, where did you get this source? What book was it from? Because I know y'all like to do that to us, people of color, like ask for our sources. A lot of our traditions are oral based. So this is something that have been passed from elder to elder. So this comes from my elder, by Cornelio de Ogun de la Casa de Oro, de Congo, who comes from Zede Baisha, who is a priest of Ogun in Bahia. So there, I gave you my source, all right? You're not going to find it on the internet. You're not going to find it in a book in Portuguese or English. And a lot of the older elders, like my Padre Santo and of that generation, they don't go on the internet. They're old school like that. You won't catch them on the internet. And I think that's a good thing too, because they don't want to be bothered with all the foolishness that we see online. Anyways, let us continue. So originally Pombagira was this really strict spirit. She was served by virgins and by girls who had not reached menstruation, right? Very different from the Pombagiras of the New World, right? That have a lot to do with brothels and prostitution and entertainment and love and sex and all that. Different. So when Pombagira was brought to the New World, she took on this new aspect, right? And so she has different, what we call cualidades, right? Paths, caminos, however you want to put it, different avatars, all right, of this original spirit, that when a person dies, that is connected to Pombagira Eshu, they ascend in the spiritual world. So we're not talking about like Joe Schmo from down the street, or Helen from down the block or something. Like, these are people that were kings and queens and sorcerers and witches when they were alive. And so they already had this higher spiritual status, and when they ascended after death, they become this more powerful ancestral figure. Like, to put it in maybe Yoruba terms, like an elevated egun, like a spirit that is of a higher status. So Maria Padilha, this first Pombagira I'm talking about, is of a higher status. Okay, so she was actually a historical figure, and she was already present in the witchcraft traditions of Spain and Portugal, of the Iberian Peninsula, before she was brought to the Americas, right? So Maria Padilha in the Middle Ages was the mistress of one of the kings of Spain. I forget if it was Alfonso the Cruel or Pedro, one of them. She was his mistress, and she is called the Queen Without a Crown because what she did, boss move here, The real queen, she put in prison, right? And she was the one really controlling. She was acting as if she was the queen of Spain, even though like she was not the legitimate wife, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's a mistress. But she wielded immense political and social influence in Spain at the time. There's even an Italian opera about her. So she was already in like the witchcraft rituals of Spain and Portugal, where she's called the wife of Lucifer. They invoke her with Barabbas, right? The zealot leader who was released instead of Jesus. All right, so there's already this connection to like the more, I would say, like baneful and malignant kind of forces at work, in her name. So she's invoked in curses and love spells and all, works of domination. And so this carried into the Americas, and then she was, fused with the African entity Pombagira, and she took on aspects of that entity, like the red and the black, the association with crossroads. All right, so Pombagira Maria Padilla is more of a royal figure, very sophisticated. She likes to drink champagne. She likes the long cigarettes. She likes the fancy outfits like we see here. She usually wears like really fancy hats and everything decorated with roses. She likes things in multiples of 21 usually. So she could be expensive. She wants her 21 red Marlboro cigarettes, 21 roses with the thorns out. Nice champagne. And she's usually invoked for things like love, romance, sex, but also with prosperity, wealth, and things of that nature, to open your roads, to remove obstacles. So she's also she's not just for love and sex, she's for other things. Pombagira can help out with other things too. And she is considered the servant or the messenger of the Orisha Oshun. So she has a connection to the Orisha Oshun. And Maria Padilla is at the top of the hierarchy of the Pombagiras. So it's like her, and then Maria Malombo and Pombagira Sete Sayas as like the trinity, right, of the female Eshus or Eshuas, or the Pombagiras. And I said her day is Monday. She likes champagne. She likes her red Marlboro cigarettes. She likes her roses. She likes really nice perfume. Like, she likes the finer things. Okay, so we get this idea sometimes of, oh, Pombagira from the street. Yeah, but Maria Padilla is of royal origin. She was the mistress of the King of Spain. Another fact about her, and again, you're not going to find this in a book. They may allude to it, and she is also called La Reina de Sabas, the Queen of the Sabbaths. For all you witches out there that love the witch queens like Diana and Herodias and Freya and so forth, Pombagira is like right up there with them, because in Iberia, in Spain and Portugal, she had this status. So if you have any questions or comments, please write them below. This is not a topic that has a lot of information about in English. And again, like if I was to give sources, they're usually not in English. A lot of the stuff I read about her was in Portuguese, from books from the 60s and 70s, and things that my elders have told me, which, you're not going to find in any book, because I'm not even saying most, the African religions of the New World are experiential. You have to experience them hands-on. You could read about it, but unless you do the rituals, the ceremonies, the initiations, you're not gonna like really experience, the dancing, the music, the culture, and this is a hands-on tradition. Okay, so, and again, working with Pombagira is hands-on. This is nothing like, you could read about it and then meditate about it. She's like, no, you need to get to work and get what you need to do. So she's very much like that, and she is very helpful. So, La Roye Pombagira. Salve Maria Padilla.